Hello, humans. Welcome to AudioFace, an irreverent podcast about music news and culture that mostly matters. I am Sean.
I'm Dan.
And this is episode 296 of this fine, established podcast.
We got to 300 way faster than I expected us to. I'll be real.
Jesus Christ, this time goes by, right? It really does if you think about it. Just, we have the lost episode that just of damn.
I feel like I have it somewhere. I think I found it at some point, and then I have it somewhere. It's I think I have it to post it somewhere.
Just burn it.
No, it's fine. But anyways, right. as usual, we have albums.
We actually listen to albums here, unlike some folk. We got 3 very different records. We got Eternal Sunshine by Ariana Grande. We got Bleachers by Bleachers. And we got The Collection by Kim Gordon.
Shout out Navarro. I forget his name.
Yeah, I don't remember his first name either, but
that's how it was back in the day. You never knew a male teacher's first name. They were always Mr. whatever.
I'm gonna refrain from saying anything further. I just remember
Action Maxim. Anyways, yes,
I just remember the stained In-N-Out shirt that he was going to yelling us at run. I look at him like, "You run, dude. It looks like you need it."
Stained In-N-Out shirt telling us to run faster. Really, what a time to be alive. Okay, so
I love it.
Let's jump in it. We actually are just going straight to albums this week. So just so you know, because you come to syndicate23.co and support us and become a member, get access to the vault, exclusive streams, all that stuff. Do all that stuff.
The band episodes, like the Boondocks.
Yes. Oh wow, we got the Twitter. We have the Twitter rush coming in here. So don't mess up.
Twitter rush. Oh, okay.
A lot of people start watching from Twitter, but I'm just kidding. But there are a lot of people watching from Twitter, so we'll see.
Right, we'll take it. Let's do it.
What's up? All right. Hello, Xers.
That's one way to put it. All right.
We're going to talk about music now.
All right. Damn, just straight away. Let's go. All right. First album review of the day, serving it up Gary's way. We got Eternal Sunshine by Ariana Grande. 13 songs, 35 minutes long. When was her last release? When was her last full album?
2020?
Maybe something like that. 2019, 2020? Because I think that was what Thank You Next, right?
Yeah.
And then I don't remember if there's anything actually after that. So it's been a while for releases.
Yeah. Do you want me to do the introduction, Sean, for AudioFace classic reasons, for reasons you can find out
for band vault reasons? If you want to find out and explore, go to syndicate23.co.
Yeah. So so we had Positions, which is
Positions. There you go. Okay.
Yes,
there was one I was missing.
Yeah, that came out in 2020.
And then before that was Thank You Next. Okay, cool.
Yes, I wouldn't really count the Yours Truly. That's kind of like a re-release thing, but yeah.
No, that was anniversary thing or whatever. Yeah.
Ariana Grande needs no introduction. Very, the poppiest pop artist to pop in the late 2010s for sure. Definitely been through some things. You can find out more in the AudioFace vault. But I would not peg her as someone who would be really pushing the boundaries of music in any kind of way. She's just like a check in the thing pop thing. This is definitely Eternal Sunshine is a different take for her. I am overall positive with it. I like how short it is. I like how to the point it is. I like how there isn't that much filler. I like how the lyrics are kind of a more mature person. It was a really tight songwriting and producing team. So I think all of that really helped to come in with. Is it really different in breaking boundaries? For Ariana Grande, yes. For anyone who's ever heard like The Weeknd, no.
Yeah, and for me, right, like I've not been a big fan of her music. I think it's very just generic, boring pop in a way. But I think with Eternal Sunshine, she tried to actually make a concept record, which was interesting. Which I was like, okay, then put that on my 2024 bingo card. But this year keeps surprising me, and she made a pretty good pop record in 2024. It's short to the point, which fits for this decade, the trend of the decade. And as you said earlier, there's no filler really at all. The production I feel like is crisp. I feel like it reminds me. Oh God, I can't think of her name, but
The Weekend.
anyways, no, not the
I know you
weekend.
said her, but The
Carly Rae
Weekend.
Jepsen. It reminds me a bit
Yeah.
of Carly Rae Jepsen in that way, where it's like, like because I'm not the biggest pop fan, other than XOXO Abel, but with this, I was like, actually, I can get on board with this. I still hate like the anytime anybody makes an album that's all lowercase, I will always hate that, or all uppercase, I will always hate that. So that's always going to take it about 2 notches down there, squarely down for myself.
Which always
Uh,
tells you like how open-minded Sean is, because that's pretty much exclusively how I text.
yeah, and I don't care who you are. If you make a whole album like that, I mean, Travis Scott, I might
Anybody,
like
any
your.
race
Oh God.
can do an uppercase, lowercase song. You've been consistent on this, even with artists you like too, I think, right?
Absolutely, I will call anyone out. I don't give a shit. But anyways, like kind of get into it. The first few tracks, you have an intro, and then you have "Bye" and "Don't Want to Break You," and like those tracks kind of get you feeling it, like kind of get you into the mood of the record. And I was like, okay, I could actually get on board with how it's flowing. I actually kind of like the interlude of Saturn Returns. It's kind of a good little
Same,
break
yeah.
up between your more poppy stuff, and then you have kind of like your trap pop stuff with Eternal Sunshine, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But I actually like the interlude being there, because I feel like if it wasn't, it kind of would have been a really weird progression to keep up through that.
I agree, and it
F-
also keeps up the like concept record piece.
Absolutely. And that's when I got to that part and I go, "Is she trying to make a concept record?" And then you get throughout the rest of it, I go, "Oh shit, okay. All right. I'll take it." And especially for me, it's like, because her lyricism and stuff with the past two records of Positions to Thank You Next, I'm just not a big fan of. But with Eternal Sunshine, I'm like, okay, I actually like this because it's really trying to, like, not like pushing yourself like in a crazy direction, but at least pushing yourself and trying to do something different, especially with the songwriting, and the capabilities of that. And as somebody who's been established in the industry for 15 years or so, it's nice to see that. And especially, right, like you could just go back and make the same record over and over again, which plenty of pop artists do.
And Ariana Grande was doing, at least
She was
thematically
doing
to
that.
some extent. Like, I think
Yeah.
the albums all sound a little bit different. They were all non-groundbreaking pop. But this album, I think for the first time, sounds like, again, I think it's a mix of her maturity in life and the type song team that she was working with. But this is the album of someone who is a woman, especially, who doesn't feel tied down by, the
Right.
relationship she's constantly in. The constant pop trope of most of my song material is going to be about the chasing, the lusting, the crying over some, person I'm chasing, right? For a
Yeah.
relationship, right? And that was a lot of Ariana Grande's music. And usually everyone gets their own time. Some people never do. But usually from artists, you hope to see this happen a little bit sooner in their careers. A lot of artists start this even in pop, and they don't even really like go from this angle, act to come to it later on. I'm thinking of Billie Eilish, right?
Yeah,
And
of course.
so I think this is, I'll just say everything that I was caveating, which is kind of my criticism. I think that it's good that she's starting to move on past some of the stuff, especially with like Yes and, which you were mentioning you're mentioning like trappy
Hmm.
stuff. It's kind of like electronic through and through, almost like a Beyonce pivot from pop to things that are more inspired by electronic.
Okay.
You get some more dancey things, I think.
Yeah.
Was it like Yes and really exemplifies that. It's like the lead single for a reason. I think it's really a top track on there.
Yeah. I think overall it's a good record. It's a good project for her. I mean, the past few years we've been getting more and more pop artists to really be true to themselves as an artist and to try to push themselves forward. Some of it can be groundbreaking, some of it is, and some of it is just them trying some other stuff and not necessarily doing the same tropes over and over again. We've been getting that the past couple of years, which is good for a genre that needs to have that, and it's good to keep having that trend even in 2024. So, and for like an artist who I'm not a big fan of at all, I thought this was actually a pretty decent record. So Yeah, I'm happy with it, actually. I came in, like, just looking at it, just seeing it all lowercase, I'm like, "I can't wait to just drink hella haterade and just go in it," and I listen to it, and I'm like, "God damn it, the stupid fucking podcast make me actually listen and go through everything." I was like, "No, actually, I can't hate on this. I'm pretty happy with it."
Yeah, for what she was going for, this is a great execution. It was I'll be honest, at this point doing the podcast, there's sometimes I dread checking out the first listen of an artist because I know I don't generally like them.
Right,
But yes,
yeah.
once again, partially because they're pop artists, they're kind of unavoidable, but because on this
There's other
podcast
stuff
we're
that
giving them a chance and we're listening to them, like it ended up being like pretty good.
and, like, right, we've been doing this podcast for 7 years, so we've gotten a bunch. I just hit me right here.
Now,
The day that if Radiohead ever comes back and they release an album, that's going to be the last day of our podcast because it's just going to be me just talking for 4.5 hours, and then it's just game over. It's going to be great,
I can't wait to
but
get that news notification.
I can't wait to. Um, but with that, like we've listened to a bunch of artists progress, right? For 7 years is a long time, so it's hard to kind of separate that. And that's one of the hardest things I think that we have to do is separate, hey, what have they done in the past? Okay, what does this new project sound like, right? Like the biggest one for me is Travis Scott. I hated everything except for the album last year. I was like, okay, I can get on board with this and I really like it. So it just speaks volumes to artists maturing throughout the time that we've done this. And then the music industry changing and people trying to do different sounds and pivots and everything, unless you're a male rap artist for the most part.
Yeah, I'm that pretty much makes sense and sums it up. Let's go to the arbitrary scale now.
Let's do it. All right. Oh God. Okay, so we do have it.
Honestly, this one is a G-rated arbitrary scale.
It's
So
a good
like
one.
a lot of times we
It
say
is.
"Oh God" because it's like dancing in terrible territory, but this one's like
This
a
one's actually
we all
good.
know,
It's
we all know.
yeah. So arbitrary scales, we do arbitrary scales every week on Audio Fits because our review is our review. We don't like to give it a letter grade or a number ranking because that detracts from our actual review. So listen to what we say, and you can figure out what we actually think about the record instead of skipping along and be like, oh, what does this one get? So on and so forth. This
And
week,
then use that to evaluate how you feel about the record and whether you want to listen to it or not, because your
yeah,
time is
because then
valuable and that's why we care.
and yeah, and it's like you might skip a record that you otherwise would like just because somebody scored it something low, and then you miss out on some damn good art that you could
Yeah.
have been digesting.
Or you might listen to a record and go, oh, that's a pop artist or an artist from a genre I don't necessarily like, or this is an artist I've listened to before and I just never gotten into. And then we
Right.
tell you that's actually no worth a second look, a third look, many listens, and it's very easy to get into. That's why I do the arbitrary scale, which this week
Our ESPN stats, baby.
dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
So ESPN likes
Trademark.
to right, the evil four letter likes to roll out the wildest random stats ever.
This was
That
motivated
make
this week by ESPN's Instagram saying that LeBron had 27 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists average for his entire career, but he's never actually come out with that stat line in a single game. He's played however many thousands of games at this point. And it's just like, I make this joke all the time about an ESPN. Whenever I hear a stat that doesn't seem to make sense, like give me a stat like how many times you scored a goal, right? How
yeah.
many times have you made a shot? How many rebounds you made? Not like how many times they're in the spring during the equinox of the moon that a 3-pointer was made from the west side of the court in the Eastern Conference. Like stop doing that. But that seems to be all ESPN does to make Disney money. So that's why the arbitrary scale this week is going to be ESPN stats. What ESPN style stat would this album be for you?
This is definitely WAR from Major League Baseball. This is wins above replacement. That I don't understand. Granted, I've been out of the game for like a decade plus at this point, but
They've
it's
changed the
like
game.
they really did change the game. It's like a standardized stat to tell you like the total players, like what they can produce for that team or contribute, probably the better word. So it's like evaluating and then making them a whole ass letter grade for their team, basically. It's ridiculous. It's this I that if you want stat guy, baseball is your sport.
Oh yeah, that's. I think baseball is why sports betting started because there's so many stats you can just go off of.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm gonna go with that time Dennis Rodman back when he was playing for the
Oh
Bulls
no.
and whatever team he was playing for. He got 20 rebounds and 0 points, 0 assists, 0 fouls, which is surprising for Rodman actually.
Surprising.
Yeah, it was just 20 rebounds. That was his stat line in an entire game.
Beautiful.
It's just, hey, you need a guy like that in your corner. Doesn't mess around, doesn't cause a scene, doesn't try to outscore you, just there for the rebound.
Love it. All right. So, second album review of the day. Serving up Carrie's Way Bean as I got a mid burp there. We got Bleachers by Bleachers. It's 14 songs, 48 minutes long.
Bleachers.
I love that joke. It'll never go away. Bleachers, Jack Antonoff's band. As I accidentally lower my Google Chrome tab, so that's fun. Got to redo all of that. Whoopsies.
Whoops.
We really got to make like our own soundboard and stuff someday.
I have the ability to do it in here. It's different. It's not as easy to do my little Stream Deck button thing into
Stream Deck
Chrome,
is
but
so
I can do it. I do have sound effects. Anyways,
Bleachers being a band that has been really interesting, right? Like with their first couple records in the early to mid 2010s being like pretty big, like pretty decent indie records and stuff that got Jack Antonoff really known in the industry. Granted, he's kind of been around other than that too, but then he went off and really into like a major producer role and stuff, and is one of my least favorite producers just for he makes everything sound the same.
We mentioned this really recently, so I'll just say it again. He's one of the most inconsistent producers. He's either going to produce like a classic or something that, like Sean is saying, is like really bland and derivative. And unfortunately, there's like not much in between.
Yeah, literally, it's either like, yeah, exactly. You have look at the Lord's last two records, Melodrama and Solar Power. One
Both
is amazing
produced by Jack Antonoff.
Yeah, both produced by Jack Antonoff. Two very, very different records. And it's interesting with this band because with the self-titled record, I don't know, it's okay. I think there's some decent stuff in it, but it's very flat. Like throughout the record, it's very sleepy. And for Bleachers, like Bleachers, it's hard for me to say that without saying that every time.
For the record, let's just say we both met in middle school and we had a PE teacher. That's the first class we're in. And this PE teacher, whenever he would make us run top the bleachers, he would just do that. So time to change values don't.
Always. And like so like their first couple like projects and stuff as a band were more like upbeat indie style sounds that, granted, it fit pretty well for the 2010s, but it fit for them as a band too. I think actually like Strange Desire and oh god, what was that, 2013 2014, whenever that was released, was a pretty good indie record and stuff and pretty upbeat. You had like Roller Coaster and a couple other tracks that just can't remember off the mind, but that one stands out immediately to where it's like upbeat, happy kind of, and I feel like it fits it really well. But with a self-titled record, it's really dreary and kind of bland, and it fits a lot of motifs that Jack Antonoff has produced, I feel like, recently for a lot of pop artists, bands. I'm thinking Lana Del Rey, I'm thinking Taylor Swift's.
I was just about to say Lana Del Rey. I'm literally looking at her Wikipedia right now because I want to figure out exactly. He's produced multiple records for Lana Del Rey.
The past two, I think, right? At least.
Yeah. Let me double check that, but continue your point.
But it's more like I know for sure Chemtrails Over the Country Club, where it's kind of flat, boring, and I wasn't a big fan of that record for her, and that's Jack Antonoff produced. You have what is really interesting.
Norman fucking Rockwell was also produced by Jack Antonoff, and I actually like that a little bit more, other than
it's definitely better than Chemtrails, and that's again the inconsistency of his production. And
What I
with
had to
self
remember was that Blue Bannisters was not produced by Lana Del Rey, and that one I actually thought was okay.
yeah, uh with self-titled, you get some sounds that you got from the 1975's last record. And it was
Hmm.
interesting that like you hear, because he produced their last record, which I actually thought was a pretty good record, especially like a return to form for the 1975, comparing to their like their fucking disaster record of
Yeah,
notes.
it
But
was it was a lot pared back. I think that was a lot of Jack Antonoff's doing, but the 1975 probably needed more of that than less.
absolutely. And but the thing is, it fits their style, it fits their sound, because they're so eccentric and over the top that when they're stripped back and pulled back, they sound normal, if that makes sense. But Bleachers are never have been a band that have been like really groundbreaking or eccentric or anything. Like, they've been solid indie. So when you strip back something that's solid indie, you get a really dreary, sleepy record that just doesn't hit it for me, right? Like the opening track, I Am Right on Time. Again, as I said when we listened to the single, it's sounds a lot like The National, where it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't fit their style. It doesn't fit Jack Antonoff's voice in the way, because kind of it's just bland and it doesn't do it for me in
Can I
that
say
way.
can I
Go ahead.
say how like my most violent thoughts about this record? Um, I felt like this is the record of a couple who was basking in the glory of having successfully gentrified Williamsburg. Like they were able to
What
move
the
like
fuck?
this is the nostalgia record for a couple who was like dancing and met each other to Vampire Weekend while listening to like some weird LCD sound system remix in a warehouse in Williamsburg back when it was all like warehouses and like kind of the hood. And then they're currently sitting in their 3-story walk-up that they own 2 stories of and rent out the like single story. They make $3 million a year designing kill machines for Meta and Northrop Grumman. And they're like, and, they're hanging a photo of the warehouse where they met, where that's now been completely razed and turned into a Whole Foods, and all the Eastern European immigrants who used to call Williamsburg home have been sent to Staten Island. Like this is the music. This is I've said that there's certain rock bands that have made music like this that feels like it's nostalgic for an era of the 2000s that was kind of like never there. I actually feel like one of the past Cage the Elephant records was a little bit like this, where it's
Yeah,
like
you
a
can
little
get,
bit
yeah.
too, nostalgia-ish, and that's a trouble thing that bands have when they've been around for a while. The Bleachers, Jack Antonoff, weird timing. But let's just say Bleachers has been around since the early mid 2010s. It's still sounding like more stale of a record than it really should, to the point where it was really kind of painful. Those 1975 things you're kind of saying, I really felt in the second half of the record, like
For
Call Me After
sure.
Midnight,
Call Me After Midnight's the big
Ordinary
one.
Heaven. I think those are
Tiny
really good. Yeah.
Moves.
Yes.
I
But then, to get there, you have to go to songs like Modern Girl, Jesus is Dead, Alma Mater, and it just sounds like,
Which I think
white
actually
hipster
Modern
bullshit.
Girl is a decent track. Like, I listened to it and I was like, okay, like,
Agree to disagree.
well, example, right? Like the opening track, I Am Right on Time, is not a good opening track. It's just really, really bland. You get to Modern Girl, I'm like, okay, if you want to go in that direction, I can get on board, maybe. And then you get to Jesus is Dead, Me Before You, Alma Mater, and it's just bland after bland after bland. You had like a pick me up song, and then that's it. And then you get Tiny Moves, which I'm like, that's where I heard that. I'm like, it sounds really 1975y, but it doesn't suit Bleachers in the year 2024. Maybe when the group was younger, sure, but just the way, like the stage presence and everything, and the way it sounds, it's just, it doesn't do it justice, right? Where it's like I could see the ideas and I could see where this could actually
Indeed.
ended up of being a pretty decent record, but the execution of it is just, it's too stripped back. It needs more oomph. It needs more pizzazz to just give it life. It needs something to pump it in there, or else it's just like this, where it's just okay, it's all right, but it's just they don't have that oomph that they need in order for it to be stripped back and get away with that, right? As with other projects that have been that way, like Lana Del Rey's last record, the one with Ocean Boulevard or whatever, so that was the name of the record. Like, it's stripped back, But because of her voice and her stage presence and everything, I thought it was actually a pretty decent record. I know you really ended up really liking it. I think
That's the one, not
1975,
Blue Banisters. It was
yeah,
yeah.
and like 1975, right? They're stripped back and stuff. They're being funny in a foreign language, but it
That
worked out.
and that's what I want to correct again. So Blue Banisters was the one before the most recent one. Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard. That one was produced by Jack Antonoff.
And
Hit
exactly, and
or
this
miss.
is
Absolute hit or
and
miss.
and this is the thing with him. It's super inconsistent, but I think the issue is he tries a formula, right? He basically just rinses repeats, right? He
I agree
goes
with that.
to Y54 in Minecraft and just digs a tunnel to get diamond every single time. That's all he does. He doesn't change, he doesn't move, he just sits there, and sometimes he gets lucky and he hits some diamonds, other times he's sitting there for an hour and he doesn't hit shit. It's a really weird analogy, but it's like you get literal tunnel vision on, hey, this is what I like, this is what it works, and sometimes it works. But the issue is you need an artist that has stage presence, that has enough oomph to actually be able to pull it off. But if you're somebody who's more like laid back, stripped back, then you're going to try to sound like a Bruce Springsteen ripoff, and it's not good.
Bruce Springsteen riff hop is a great point. So based off of the tone for last year, I'm going to surprise you with a couple of words. In defense of Damon Albarn.
Oh Lord Jesus Christ! All right,
I'm back, baby. We've never been this back before. Damon Albarn's the best. Of course, last year on Audio Face, the joke was like, Damon Albarn's my least favorite person. I'm so tired of him. I need him to stay as far away from microphones as possible. But
he's not fucking boring.
no, here's the deal. He is also a little bit inconsistent with records. I think, sometimes there's a conversation as to how much producer credit he has. And, based on how much he's producing a record, you can get something that's very pared back, like Gorillaz The Fall or Demo Crazy, or Everyday Robots. Or you can get something that's like a little bit too grand and wild, or you can get something that's like really bland. But I'll say this. As a producer, and you think of some of the great producers, Kenny Beats, people love Rick Rubin, and he does produce some pretty good results. They always try to look for different musical inspirations
Look at
here
Nigel
and there.
Godrich doing Idols.
Yeah, like they look in different genres, they look in different parts of the world. Damon Albarn, the joke is Damon Albarn has black friends, but the reality is that like he's done a bunch of tours to Africa and he's gotten, at least 2-3 dozen great songs and artists to come out of that.
And that has been amazing.
And that has spread to how he has created music and produced music since having those experiences. Listen, it's like I see a change in Damon Albarn's production before and after Rocket Juice and the Moon in the early 2010s, right? I look at, what is it, Jack Antonoff's discography, like some of the people he's worked with, Taylor Swift, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks, the Chicks, Carly Rae Jepsen, Fifth Harmony, Florence the Machine, Tegan and Sarah, the 1975. You get Kevin Abstract in there. But the thing I kind of get here is these are all like pop, indie, rock adjacent, even Kevin Abstract, like with that exception, mostly, white folks. Like there's not a lot of diversity in music and style that Jack Antonoff seems to be pulling from or really ever like talking about. And so as a result, you're getting this very inconsistent thing where, sometimes he hits, but even those hits are like, it's not like Lord was this cross-cultural musical experience. Now I'm comparing everything like Gorillaz again, but like, I think Jack Antonoff, case in point, is losing some of that creative journeying that you need to do in order to not just be a good artist and produce a couple of good records and be a good producer known for that, but to be much more consistent and to fail, but to fail interestingly, in the Damon Albarn kind of way. And I just don't see Jack Antonoff doing that. I think I need Jack Antonoff just like take some vacations, some musical vacations, kind of like Disclosure have done to the global South and start to learn different styles of music.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Love it. Going all Tarek Ali on me.
Cheer you up, white boy. I want to see I forget his name. There's that one like white celebrity, he's like the son of a celebrity who like speaks in patois all the time. I forget, but like I want to see Jack Antonoff with like the whole Nancy Pelosi dashiki get up by the end of this for the culture.
I like it. All right, arbitrary scale. We do arbitrary scales every week because the review is a review on Audio
Chet
Face, and this
Hanks is
week,
who I was thinking of. Chet
yeah,
Hanks.
yeah, there you go, there you go.
I want him to be
That
like
was
Chet Hanks after this. Anyways, arbitrary scale.
I just got some funny images of of Jack Antonoff doing Chet Hanks pivot. That would be hilarious. But arbitrary scale this week are ESPN stats.
Bum, 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 bum.
This is definitely absolutely my favorite NHL stats ever, which are the worst points percentages ever. So like the lowest point percentages in NHL history. I'm not going defunct franchises. I ain't doing that. I'm getting smoke for current franchises, and by far the worst was the Carolina Hurricanes in 1979, 1980 with a .446 win percentage. Woohoo, man. Bad.
.446 is a good year for the Clippers, honestly.
Beautiful.
This is gonna be the one game. This is CJ Watson.
Yeah.
So he played for the Brooklyn Nets. He was number one. He had 1 point, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 block, 1 turnover, and 1 steal during this one game in 2013.
I love it. Hard.
That is an ESPN stat for the ages. And I think Jack Antonoff can be a producer for the ages as long as he, refills his cup creatively. Right now it's getting kind of rough in the streets here.
Love it. All right. So, last album review of the day, serving up Gary's way. Bing. We have The Collective by Kim Gordon. 11 songs, 41 minutes long. We'll just round it up for audio face
For old
sake.
time's sake.
Old time's sakes.
Here's
Exactly.
the stats.
We got to do the stats, man. Like we're stat guy. If we really think about it.
There's one common thread this show has had, or at least this episode has had. It's stats.
Absolutely. So I didn't realize that Kim Gordon was making music because she was like the co-founder of Sonic Youth. So I was
front
like,
woman of Sonic Youth. Yes,
yeah,
legendary punk band.
I love Sonic Youth, right? Teenage Riot. It's one of my favorite songs ever made. Anyways, I was like, wait, is that the same Kim Gordon? And I looked and I was like, what the hell? Oh shit, she's still making music. Let's go. And this is why I love this podcast, because you get weird shit like this and you get a record.
Yeah. So The Collective, as you mentioned, it's pretty album size, like a standard 2010s album size. Doesn't over. I'll get to that in a moment. It is so what you would expect Kim Gordon to be. So punk darling. Since then, she's made a lot of different music. She has been very artistically creative, and what you get here, I wouldn't call it hyper pop necessarily, if anything. And I did a little bit of cheating and reading around about this, but I realized that a lot of people are landing in the right place, which is this is a similar sort of like neo punk trap sort of thing that Playboy Cardi does, where it's like really distorted, kind of yelling of mantras as opposed to rapping or singing. And it's someone was saying that Bye Bye is trappy in that vein of like a Playboy Cardi vamp EP style song. And that's kind of, again, amazing considering I think it's amazing for both Playboy Cardi and amazing for both Kim Gordon in that way, that they're able to make music in a similar way that complements each other and honestly has like totally different fan bases just because of who they are. But I think you could have Kim Gordon open up for Playboy Cardi or like vice versa. And I think both fan bases would get along very well.
Oh, just my favorite thing is right. Like Kim Gordon's picture is hilarious. Like on Spotify, it's hilarious because it's like the most suburban white-looking mom ever, which is funny to me as a picture of Kim Gordon because that's not what I think of her at all. And then I was like, okay, let's get to this album. And then the first track is Bye Bye, and I'm like, why does this straight up sound like Playboy Cardi in a way where it's like that or well, a couple others, but anyways.
I mean, like it sounds like and Bye Bye when you're listening to it, when you get to the like distorted,
Yeah, yeah.
trappy kind of thing, the lyrics are basically like that suburban mom packing her bags for a private jet to meet up with a narco. Like
Goes
it's a kind
hard.
of, yeah. Fly audio
It's
says
it,
jets. Quick hops.
let's go. Like example, the second track, the Candy House. I was like, dude, we're going straight. All right, like a mix of hyper pop with that like SoundCloud-ish style of trap, where again, like you said earlier, it's very visceral, it's very in your face and glitchy and stuff. Which some of that I enjoy because I feel like you can get some interesting sounds and stuff from it. Um, but after a while, like it gets a little flat towards the end. Maybe if it was a little bit shorter, I feel like I would have enjoyed it a lot more. Um,
I
but like,
agree. I think like
yeah, go ahead.
after you get to a certain point and you understand the idea of stream of consciousness yelling, fuzzy synthesizer, distorted trap thing, like you get the idea. And it is until like, trophies, it's dark. I mean, songs like trophies, it's dark outside, treehouse, psychedelic orgasm, like they have like cool little moments and quotable things here and there. There isn't a lot of depth to it, and it just kind of like drops off at a certain point. I think you have highlights that are there within that. Like I'm a Man's, I think it's a good highlight. Shelf Warmer near the end. The last three, Shelf Warmer, The Believers, and Dream Dollar, I think are great. The Believers might be my favorite track on the record. But this seems like it would have been a great idea for like an EP or a drop or something that was 20 or 25 minutes long. But at this current length, it's like the idea is drawn out too much. And that's why I stopped myself super early on in the review when I said, oh, this sound doesn't overstay its welcome, because like it actually kind of does overstay its welcome.
Yeah, it like I feel like just overstated its welcome because you have I think there's a lot of good sounds in here. You have I Don't Miss My Mind, which is probably my favorite on the record. Is I really like that industrial sound that mixes. I feel like I really like that. Trophies is good, Psychedelic Orgasm, but then you get to the last couple like Shelf Warmer, The Believers, Dream Dollars for like the last few tracks. I was like okay, cool. You get more of the hyper pop thing, especially at the Believers, which I was like down for because you've gotten me more on that hyper pop train. At first, I really hated it, but then after a couple other records like Yonzi, I think did a really, really good hyper pop record where it didn't overstay its welcome, but stayed true to himself as an artist a few years ago. And with Kim Gordon's, it's interesting for artists who's also been around for a very long time, for what, 40 years at this point.
Yeah.
Um, to get inspirations and really make something that's extremely modern, and to this is where the
But it
best
also
artists
fits her. It doesn't seem like she's like trying to appropriate something
no
or step into something she's not.
she's staying true to herself as an artist, right? And that's what we like on here. This is what I like a lot about when like older established artists who are known for a thing, they branch out, they get those influences, as you were stating earlier, from the Bleachers record
Brr.
of, hey, get like go outside the box, get different influences and everything. And that's what Kim Gordon did. And it's like, hey, let me listen to a bunch of different genres, a bunch of other things, and try to do something different, sound different for a solo project. And it's really good. It's just a little long. The last couple, that was the only thing that was a little disappointing on me. If this would have been like maybe 2 or 3 less tracks, I would have really enjoyed it. But overall, I feel like it's a good. I like this project.
Yeah, you hit all the points. It's really industrial, which is something I've been missing, something I've been craving in
Yeah.
music, and I'm trying to just like get into more myself. I've been talking with Kyle about electronic music in the background and the sidelines. It's been a really interesting year as well. It's just one of those times where I think Sean and I are having some trouble like digging into it. So that's why we have Kyle who's gonna like help us out with a little bit with that. Later on this month when we do State of Music 2024. But when we're getting to the Collective by Kim Gordon, it's got that electronic, it's got that trap, it's got that industrial, it's got that hyper pop. And when it all comes together, it's got that punk influence, and it comes together in a really good idea, if not maybe a really, really long good idea. And long good ideas are oftentimes just a little bit better when they're dense and a little bit shorter. And
You would
so
rather be left wanting more than being like, okay, like let's wrap this shit up.
Yes. Last thing I will say, because we were robbed of more Sophie music, her hyper pop legacy lives on in so many different amazing ways.
And
I'm
I
able to
love that.
see in like so many different genres. That's great. Sophie lives. Arbitrary scale.
All right, arbitrary scale. Last one. ESPN stats. I retract my earlier statement about the worst winning percentage for the Carolina Hurricanes because I've totally forgot about my favorite ever stat. My favorite NHL stat.
Yeah, I'm pretty
The
sure
last
I'm forgetting a
time,
team.
what? The last
I was like,
time the Toronto Maple Leafs won a Stanley Cup was 1967 when there were 6 teams in the NHL before the first expansion. That was the last time the Toronto Maple Leafs won a Stanley Cup before my 2 favorite teams existed, before your favorite team existed, before so much. And Toronto fans love to be like, we're this and that. I'm like, when's the last time you won a cup, buddy?
yeah.
Philadelphia didn't exist. Ottawa Senators didn't exist. Well, the modern ones. Everybody. Then most of the goddamn league didn't exist the last time Toronto won a Stanley Cup, and it shall stay that way. I want it in writing.
I'm gonna go with the most traded, similar in your vein. I'm gonna go with the most traded NBA team with the lowest win percentage.
Okay.
And they have to have at least played more than one season. So I'm not looking for all out stinkers here. But um I'm gonna have to go with the Vancouver Grizzlies, who are a Canadian basketball team who had to move from Vancouver to Memphis, Tennessee. They had to move from Vancouver to Memphis, Tennessee, because
That's
Vancouver was a
rough,
really
buddy.
Vancouver turned out to be a really bad basketball city, and with the weak Canadian dollar, weak, not strong, very bad, terrible, soft Canadian
Listen
dollar.
today, herbal, soft, awful.
But I think I'm really bearing the lead here because if you don't have a team that's delivering, they're not going to really be able to fill tickets. And they had a .220 win percentage for the entire season.
2-2-0. They won like 4 games.
They run like half a game and like forfeited the other.
God damn, 2-2-0. In what year?
220. Let me let me re-look that up. That was in 1995.
Oh, so that's recent too.
Yeah.
2-2-0-95, back when the Seattle Supersonics, Lord rest in peace.
Supersonic.
Like,
What the things I would do to bring back the Supersonics as any
oh,
team.
oh, that with the Seattle Kraken, granted their jerseys go hard as fuck. Um, they should have been the Seattle Supersonics on ice. That would have gone so hard.
Ugh.
That would have immediately. I would have just dropped my teams. I'd be like, all right,
Yeah.
let's wrap this shit up. I got 3 cups witnessed in Pittsburgh. I know they got 5, but I was born for 2 of them, so I'm good. All right, let's go.
All my
Supersonics.
homies love the Seattle
All
Supersonics.
my homies. All
We
my
get
homies
Bam to
hate.
go to a hockey game.
Oh, Bam would be down. Bam would be back. Let's up. Let's go.
Yeah.
I got Bam on ice. That's what I
We
would get.
slide for the Sonics.
Let's go. Yeah, there we skate for the Sonics.
Well, I won't be able to skate. I'll be sliding for sure.
Yeah, you're saying fair play.
Anyways, this has been Audio Face. What does it mean to play us out?
All right. Thank you for listening to Audio Face. You can find us pretty much everything, right? At what audio what is it again?
Audioface.show.
There's a show, audioface.show. Yeah.
Yes,
Audioface.show has
audioface.show.
everything on there.
Show
YouTube.com or no, audioface.show has all the YouTube stuff, but
has
go
all the links, but
subscribe.
youtube.com/audioface. You
Okay.
might be watching us, twitch.tv/Dan from the web. All the stuff for Syndicate 23 is up there. We're streaming on
That's it.
twitter.com/Dan from the web right now and
Which
getting
I
a
guess
lot
is
of views.
popping.
I blame Elon Musk for this because I don't believe any of this is real. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. Let me look. How many?
Oh no,
Yeah.
you can see in the top like thing of our
Mhm,
stream here. And
mhm.
yeah, that's not Twitch or YouTube, I'll tell you that much. Anyways, thank you very much for listening and watching. We will talk to you next week. Power Report will be streaming on Thursday, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. We appreciate you as always. And cheers.
Bye.